Hey, what's up guys and gals, my name is Ricknineg. Thank you for joining me with another episode of The Three Stooges. More specifically, their 45th short film released by Columbia Pictures on March 8th, 1940. Filming took place November 7th through the 11th, 1939. And don't forget to take a look at my playlist, including the 44 other short films by the Stooges, which I covered in depth, ranging from bloopers, facts, and historical information. This short is called Rockin Thru the Rockies. Special attention to Rockin that has no G and Thru, which is spelled T-H-R-U. Now keep in mind that this short often gets mistaken for the 1945 feature film Rockin in the Rockies starring the Stooges. This is Rockin Thru the Rockies. Now if you watch my previous video, you will know Lorna Gray. She co-stars in several Stooge shorts. However, this is the final Stooge short in which she appears. Now in this one, the Stooges are hired as bodyguards to make sure Nels Bells gets to the show safely and on time. However, Indians in a snowstorm turn their attention to saving their own hides. Even though it seems like a lot of the short was shot outside in the real outdoors, this is untrue. It was mostly shot at Columbia Studios inside a stage. Now here's an instance where Curly briefly chants, "Give him the axe, right in the neck, right in the neck."
Give him the axe, give him the axe, give him the axe, the axe, right in the neck, right in the neck, right in the neck, the neck.
This is a reference both to the Stanford axe as well as a chant traditionally shouted by Stanford during the big game, which was popular in Southern California during the early part of the 20th century. It seems like Curly is always super uncoordinated. Now if you don't own all the episodes yourself, and you only watch the Stooges on TV through syndication, well, you might have issues with seeing this episode because it's not aired. One of the main reasons is because there are instances and of course appearances of Native Americans. However, they're called Indians, and of course some would deem that offensive. But I do want to point this out because this is a different time. This is the 1940s. They were referred to as Indians, and of course a lot of the actors were white men who were playing the Indians. So it's just something to note, and I guess a part of history.
Indians. Why, there isn't an Indian for miles around.
Here's Dick Curtis playing, of course, the Indian chief. Now, would any of you be interested in me visiting his grave, Dick Curtis? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'd be happy to oblige.
How do you do?
Also, other people deem the fact that you can see real dead ducks here on screen
Right about face, certainly.
as offensive as well. In the comments below, what do you think? Now watch this blooper here as a native chief turns around, his headdress with the feathers hits the other Indian actor in the face. As the Stooges are woken up by Curly snoring, take a look at Larry. He seems to laugh a lot during a lot of the lines. It's kind of funny. It reminds me of Jerry Seinfeld in the show Seinfeld. Let's take a look, but you have to be quick to catch. When Curly doesn't have any snowshoes, he can of course improvise. Now whenever there's a buildup of snow on your roof, don't let Curly fix the problem. In a good part of this episode, you do see a lot of snow, so it has to be cold. However, you never see the breath of the Stooges or any other actors for that matter in the air, which means of course that this was filmed inside a warm studio stage. Who else but the Stooges would use a backdrop as a sail? Now in this scene, Curly is cutting a hole through the ice with the saw. Now watch as he presses on top of the ice, the camera cuts, and this is of course a double, a stuntman who drops into the water. Now watch this blooper as Mo falls in the water. You see Larry fall in as well. However, when he comes out, he's soaking wet. A second later, he'll be dry. You can see how clearly wet Larry is. Now take a look at the next frame.
Wait a minute. Go on, back to your fishing grounds. Go on.
So even though it's out of order, I did want to include this blooper. This goes back into when the Stooges were in the cottage. Notice how Curly says it was a lizard, which is of course incorrect. He meant to say blizzard. However, he starts with lizard and then corrects himself, catches his error, and then says blizzard. But they leave it on camera. Let's take a look.
A lizard? I mean a blizzard.
The Indians come back to get the Stooges and the girls, and they run back into the cabin. The Stooges and the girls finally get into the wagon, and they're pulled, of course, by the wind, and they sail off into the sunset. This conclusion is reminiscent of early American folklore as they leave the territory, a la Windwagon Smith. Well, that's it for this video, guys and gals. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate your love and support on everything that I do. Don't forget to browse the channel, leave a thumbs up if you want to see more, and most importantly, don't let any negativity bring you down. Just make sure to be hopeful.